Our thoughts and feelings are our own and are not representative of electronic arts as a whole or anyone else.
Once again, it's time for the Team Lift podcast with your hosts, Brandon Bowie and Roderick McDaniel. Let's go ahead and get right into the show. All right, everybody, welcome back. We are doing another Team Lift anime-themed show. We're starting to definitely cover more anime coverage on here. And once again, for this episode, he was so great on the first one. We said we were going to bring him back. We definitely brought him back for this one. I needed you here for this one. Xane Lopez, Mr. Xane Lopez, and I forgot to intro you. I'm so excited to talk about this. Xane, first of all, man, last episode, I didn't even get into this. How can people get a hold of you on social media?
I have a Twitter handle that is at the letter A, at a million Samsons, plural Samsons. And then Instagram, I want to say, is at Hirelander. So instead of Highlander, it's Hirelander.
Hirelander. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have no, I have a YouTube channel, but I believe it's youtube.com/wasabifunyuns because they won't let you change it until you have enough viewers and subscribers, and I don't have any content there. So once I get things situated and I actually get to the point where I can start publishing content that's relevant to what I'm doing, I'll probably change that to a million Samsons or Hirelander, because my tentative side project is Hirelander Productions, which I think the website might be down right now because I turned it off, but once...
And that's for your game development thing?
Yeah, that's for my little thing on the side.
Okay.
Once I get away from where I can't, make money on that, I'll definitely be super active in that on the website and using Twitter, of course, to broadcast everything.
Cool. No, I wanted to, because I noticed we did the episode and we did the Anime Austin kind of recap show, and man, you were there with us and we had a blast, and it was just so neat to kind of have you come in and do that show with us. But we're talking about something off radio or off the show, and I think it was a show that we wanted to kind of get into. We kind of touched on it, and it was the website My Anime List. I want to say myanimelist.net.
.net.
Yeah, which is, if you're an anime fan, go. It's free to sign up. You can track all the anime you ever watched. There's a app for the iPhone that I have on my phone that I kind of, put series in to track it. And it even tells you, hey, this episode will air in 4 days. So it's kind of neat because it does all that little stuff for me. It helps me kind of keep track of what I'm watching through the season. Which is, we're not endorsed by them, but I would love to be. Love to be endorsed by these guys.
Start doing more of these shows.
Yeah, we got to do more of these shows, and they may pick us up. But yeah, it's definitely one of the things that I'm real big about that app, and it's just how neat it is and what it does. But we're active on their website, and there was a thing that happened this year, 2017, that we saw a certain film came. I'd like to say it came out of nowhere.
I would say it came out of nowhere. There was a lot of press for it. It wasn't wildly advertised, but you told me, for example, we both went to see Ordinal Skell, and after the showing, you were like, you're talking to me and our buddy Jonathan, you're like, you guys got to go see this movie. You guys, it's coming out in a couple months. You got to go see this movie. And I'm like, I've never heard of this, but okay. I'd never looked into it. I literally did not. I wouldn't say I didn't care enough. I just didn't feel. I didn't feel like I needed to look into it. I was just like, I'll go see the movie. Fuck it, why not? And it blew me away.
Okay. So without much further ado, we're going to get into it. The movie was Your Name.
Kimi no Na wa.
Yes. My God. I've been hyped for a lot of anime. I really get fanboy about anime.
I know.
This one was a movie that I had been tracking. When I found out that it was one of the, it broke all the box office records in Japan. Mm-hmm. It has passed every Miyazaki film in sales.
I believe it beat Spirited Away out by several dozen, or maybe just, I want to say a couple dozen million.
Yeah, no, it's
office.
got a couple million over
Because
it.
I know Spirited Away, I think, had like 200 and I want to spitball like 225, 230 million box office, and I think Your Name broke that by a couple dozen at least.
Yeah, now, last time I had looked at Your Name was at 250, and I never looked again. Once you hit the 250 million, I was kind of like, they're good, man. They don't need us. They're good. But I'm going to tell you, this movie, and I'm really going to say this, I knew from what it was doing in Japan, I was like, man, I really hope this movie comes to the U.S. I want to see that. So let's look at it. 354.2 million is its box office.
Good God.
It is now the highest grossing anime film of all time now.
By a lot.
Yeah. And if you really want to put that into perspective, a film like Batman versus Superman, which we have a serious hate relationship with on this show, made 872 million. A well-known film like Batman versus Superman makes 872 million. This movie makes 350. Yeah. And there are people that still don't know who this film is. That's, in fact, here's something for you. Man of Steel made 668 million. So this movie's made half of that with a tenth of the advertising budget?
Probably. No, I believe that they actually said, I think that their budget for advertising translated to US dollars was like maybe $100,000. Like they did not put a lot of money into advertising. And the fact that it was as big as it was in Japan is phenomenal. If they had a real advertising budget and they would have done, I think they only did like a limited showing of like 300-ish, 250 to 300, something like that, theaters in the States. If they would have done like a full feature release, one, I could see them getting like nominated for all kinds of awards, but two, they would have definitely broken out far more than Spirited Away, which I do believe had like almost a legit release. Granted, I also was a kid
yeah, no,
when that one came out, but
Miyazaki films are huge, man, and like his name is synonymous with like when we talk to people, you know, like even the most non-diehard anime fan knows a Miyazaki film. They're familiar with one. To me, this movie, Your Name, comes in and it does something that's just unheard of. And not only does it have this success, but now the thing is that's so beautiful about the My Anime List website is that the fans vote on what's the hot anime.
Yep.
Whether it be movies, whether it be TV shows, the fans vote on what's the best. And the fans have made this the #1 rated movie anime of all time now.
It's got like a 9.8 or something like that rating, like something incredibly like ridiculous, almost a perfect score basically.
Yeah.
I think it deserved it. I watched the movie in theaters twice, and I actually bought the light novel, read through that too. The movie, the whole story, I mean, like I said, I went in there blind. I did not know almost anything that was going to happen in the movie. At first, thoroughly confused, didn't know what was happening. Within about 15-20 minutes though, I caught on instantaneously. The characters are extremely likable, and the story flowed so perfectly. And it's not one of those anime that have a source, like the source is the movie is everything Your Name is supposed to be. It was not made, it was not a manga, it was not a visual novel like a lot of other anime coming out these days.
It did not start as a video game or any of this.
For movies, like it was made to be a movie. And Makoto Shinkai, who was the I believe, well, I don't know, his history is awesome. Like that guy has literally done pretty much anything you can do in the production of a movie. He's done art, he's done directing, producing, everything in between. And this is probably going to be the cornerstone, his kind of empire. Like this is the beginning, I hope, for him. I really want to see more come out. More work by him come out. I want to say, the soundtrack is another thing I want to mention. The soundtrack.
We're gonna get into this. You took off on this one. This is good. So, I want to ask you a question. So the question we were going to bring on is that there are people who say, "Is this movie? Does it deserve to be the greatest anime of all time?" That's a question that's starting to come up because a lot of people let's just face it. There are the Miyazaki fanboys out there who think Spirit Away, Princess Mononoke, whatever film they started with is the greatest film of all time, and that's all they know. Is Your Name the greatest anime film of all time, your personal opinion?
Short answer, yes. That's very subjective, of course.
Yeah.
Like, I have my opinions, everybody else has their opinions, but no other anime movie I've ever watched drew me in. Literally almost killed me. Like, I was holding back tears the first time I watched it, and I'm not a crier. Like, the only other movie ever that's made me cry, and I hate that I can't remember the name of it. Bicentennial Man, I just remembered. That's the only other movie that's ever made me cry, and don't make fun of me, but Bicentennial Man.
I can't say anything, bro.
Is the only other movie that's ever made me cry.
The first movie that ever made me cry, like broke down and cried uncontrollably, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, where he was fighting to win the spelling bee, and he got all the way to the championships and lost. Cried. I knew then animated films are not going to be for you, bro. And I started this love-long affair with animated films.
But yes, it is, in my books, right now, is definitely the best anime film. It touched me in places I've never been touched before. Brandon over here giving me looks.
Oh, man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
It was literally like, I actually wrote not a huge review, but at least like 6 or 7 paragraphs on my opinion of it without spoilers. And I literally just gave my honest opinion. Like, the movie, let's see here.
You don't mind share your review with us. Let's get into this. Let's break it down.
It's gonna be a read if you want me to go over the whole thing here.
Do it. Let's go.
All right. So here it goes. So for a few months prior to the theatrical release, I was told repeatedly, "Dude, you have to see Your Name." And the person who told me that is right in front of me. I was given ample time to research and find out what this movie that I apparently had to see was about. I did not once look into it. I went in blind, and I was pleasantly stunned, amazed, beat up, and mended several times over. Your Name is going to be a piece talked about for a while. In the anime film world, it's going to be one of those movies that will be considered a milestone. We gotta be the next Your Name. Is just an example quote I put in there. It did phenomenally well domestically in Japan, and even with a few hundred theaters in North America, it still made several $1 million here. It was so popular here in Austin, actually, that one of our chain theaters, the Alamo Drafthouse, had it showing for about 2 months after the initial release. It was only just dropped from their Showtime calendars last week, I believe, and I wrote this review probably 5 days ago.
Wow.
And then, let's see, if you go into the movie like myself, unaware of what is going to happen or what the story is about, the beginning is a tad confusing. However, they do a great job of guiding you through it very early on. Once you've caught up with what's happening, the rest of the movie flows like a majestic river. It doesn't hold your hand, and it expects you to think about it, but it also doesn't make it hard. However, the hard parts are not missing. They exist in the form of gut-wrenching, heartbreaking moments that literally made me want to scream, "What the fuck?" in a packed theater. Just like that majestic river, there are falls. They're huge falls. The emotions evoked during that movie are emotions no movie before has caused me to feel. I genuinely wanted to tear up more than once, and I'm not even a crier. In between the moments of pain and loss, there are many, many very pleasant and hilarious moments. The two main characters are written super well and complement each other greatly. Some have stated that there's not a lot of character development, but I kind of disagree. While we don't see a lot of them shaping up to be who they are at the start of the movie, Taki, he's the male main character, grows a lot thanks to his interactions with Mitsuha, the female main. Just the same, Mitsuha's character feels developed already, and it doesn't feel like she changes a whole lot, but there are moments where she does seem to be a completely different person, especially nearing the end of the movie. And then this is the part where I get into the book. The book follows the exact same story as the movie, but it alternates between the point of view of each of the main characters. I've seen some reviews of the book stating that it's hard to follow, or you don't know which character is speaking most of the time, or I couldn't tell whose point of view was being told at the time. these people are silly. There are many clear indications as to when time hops are happening or when we're switching to another character's point of view. Time hops have three large font stars between the last and next paragraphs, probably 18-point sized. Point of view swaps just have larger breaks between the paragraphs. It reads very well to me, and this is even after more than a decade of not actually reading a novel. This is the first book I read since Harry Potter in middle school.
Wow.
Yeah. The book was just fun to read it was as fun to read as the movie was to watch. The emotional parts felt just as evocative as the film, but since I knew what was going to happen, I didn't have quite the same level of feels going on. I felt that the book was a brilliant supplement to the movie. It's not necessary, but it does provide a unique way to see the same story and lets you see what the characters are actually thinking, things that are not shown or mentioned during the film. My review scores for the film are as follows. Visuals, I gave it a 9 out of 10, and I didn't go into detail on this in my review, but it's mainly because literally, I want to say probably like 20 to 30 minutes worth of that film, you can just pause it and take a beautiful screen grab and have a perfect background. Like the art in that movie was done phenomenally. Like everything looked hand painted, but there was so much detail put into the backgrounds.
Everything.
It complemented the actual what was going on in the scene so well.
The cityscape, the skyline, the sunsets. There was not a thing in that film that did not visually grab you.
Good no. And then my next review score is music. I gave that a perfect 10. The group that did the music, they're known as Rad Wimps, which it literally means what you think it means. They're rad and they're wimps, the Rad Wimps. They are a phenomenal group, and I actually love that they did the music for the movie because thanks to them, my knowledge and my my I won't say database, but my list of music that I listen to now has grown exponentially because of how many artists are played on my Google Play station that I based off of Radwimps. I started a Radwimps radio, and Google Play just plays random similar music, and I've literally favorited and liked at least 3 or 4 dozen different groups from Japan. And Radwimps has opened my eyes to a whole market of music I was not really listening to before. I love Japanese. I love Japanese music. I just didn't know how to get into it, and Radwimps opened up that door for me. The next score I gave was story development. I also gave that one a 9 out of 10. That one is mostly because going into it blind and not knowing what was going to happen, I did not get lost. At the beginning, of course, I didn't know what the story was about, what was happening. 15, 20 minutes in, everything clicked and it made sense, and it was like, wow. And it developed perfectly. The story itself, if it hadn't been told the same way, may not have been nearly as impactful.
Right.
Character development is the lowest score I gave, actually, a 7.5 out of 10, just because of reasons I stated in the review earlier. There's not a ton of it. There's not a lot of you don't see how these characters became who they are, but it doesn't impact the story enough to merit a terrible score. I feel like a 7.5 is pretty good for that.
Yeah, you really do. In this movie, you're going to kind of get introduced to the male and the female lead character, and they are the way they are.
Yeah.
And you just come into their life. That's just coming into a point in their life. That's
actually a big bonus, actually, that there's not that development, because part of the story relies on them being so set in their ways. It's a huge deal.
Yes.
The middle, not the middle of the movie, but 40, 50 minutes in, there's a huge musical sequence where they're swapping and everything, and they keep on leaving each other messages, and they're just pissed off at each other for fucking with each other's lives so much, and that's a big deal, and that's why the character development I don't think is as necessary in this film as it would be in other films.
Yeah, no, I felt like that was perfect to kind of get these characters where we are. We're just kind of getting a snapshot of their life, and we're going to go on this adventure with them. And the little that we knew about them was just the perfect amount for us to buy into this story and to go on that adventure. Mm-hmm. Definitely. There is no character, really, we kind of see where they develop from where we meet them in their life, and we see how they're affected and how they grow. So I would challenge you and say where we come in, there was nothing that led to tell us why they were the way they were when we start.
Right.
But we definitely go on a journey. I think we grow with them in this film. You will come out. You would have to be a heartless bastard to go into this film and come out and not have felt something.
Indeed. The next score I gave them was voice actors. Gave that a perfect 10. Both. Well, I mainly did it for the main characters, Mitsuha and Taki's voice actors. They did such a believable job. I did not feel at once that I was watching somebody voice an animated character. I felt like that character came to life every single step of the way. Like, Mitsuha had so many hilarious and adorable moments, and it felt like that was her voice. That was her. And Taki the same way, like the voice actor, he fit the character, every little nuance, every little like minor like thing he said, perfect. All their interactions vocally perfect. Like I didn't feel at all that the voice acting had any negative points to it.
I'm gonna go a step further because you were covering the main characters. Let's think about those side characters. For her two friends at school, her father, her grandmother, her baby sister.
Her baby sister, what's her name? Yutsuha? Or I don't remember her little sister's name. Her little sister has some of the most hilarious parts in the movie too, especially whenever she walks in on Taki in her body.
Yeah. and that's the thing where you start kind of watching this, and as you start going through it, you start to buy into like, holy crap, this is amazing.
And before we go any
These actors
further,
are amazing.
Before we go any further, I want to warn there's going to start being a lot of spoilers.
Yeah, we may get into some spoilers. I'll try not to, but voice acting was amazing.
It's necessary for what I'm going to say, though. Like,
okay,
the thing that like made me love the little sister so much is the scene after the big catastrophic shit happened, and then Taki's actually back in her body. He's like, oh my God, she's alive. And he's like crying and rubbing up her tits. And then the little sister walks in.
The guy actually, let me explain this for people listening. There's a part in the movie where something has happened and it's caused him to enter her body. Mm-hmm. And he thought she was gone. And when he realizes he just jumped into her body again, he is so happy. And he starts filling up his own breast. And it is one of the most hilarious scenes. He is crying because he is back with this woman that he's learning to love from a distance. And he's back in her body. And he's filling up her breast. Mm-hmm. It's a crying. And it's, to me, greatest comedic moment in a movie. Not talking animated. This is one of the greatest comedic moments in a movie. Bar none. The way they shot that scene, the way it was framed, and how it plays out with her family seeing it, hilarious.
Yes, and then the little sister like walks out of the house like sisters lost it today. Scary, and just like creeps out of the house.
Yeah, she's muttering under her breath that her sister's lost it. It was probably, I think, one of my favorite scenes, man, in a comedy in a long time, man.
The last score before, I got two more scores. So the second to the last score I gave it was emotion evocation. I gave it a 9, but I feel like after thinking things, I may actually should have given it a 10. Cause
emotional impact?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because literally, there was almost not a single moment where I wasn't either extremely happy, I was tearful, definitely. I was heartbroken. I was on top of the world. I was living in hell. Like, I went everywhere with this movie.
It was a roller coaster of emotion.
It was literally, this movie is probably one of the best examples of the roller coaster effect. Like, it is a movie that gives you a perfect example of how to make that roller coaster work. Because I've taken English classes in the past, and one of the biggest things that they tell you is you need to have a roller coaster. You can't just be like happy all the time or depressing all the time. There has to be, you have to go high, you have to dive low, then you have to go back up, you got to dive low, and you got to make all these moments have huge impacts to the story. And they did that like perfectly. So I should have made that a perfect 10.
Yeah, I'm going to have to, because, man, even when I think about it now, I was the same way. And, and it was just like, I was rooting for these characters. I loved these characters. I started to care for these characters. I cared about what was going on in their life. I was happy. I mean, I'm there, a freaking lump in my throat, and it feels like I'm trying to swallow a whole boiled egg, and I can't, like, I'm scared to swallow because I think, hey, if I swallow, I'm going to start crying. Mm-hmm. It's a wrap for me. I was just like, I was really that affected by this film. Man, no. I'm going to have to say, that'll be one I'm going to go give it a 10.
Yeah. My last score I give it was rewatchability. 8.5 is what I gave it. Not because I don't think it's perfectly watchable, but because the same impact I had the first time I watched the movie was not there the second time I watched it, because I knew what was happening, but I still loved it. Like, I went there twice to see it in theaters. Once, me and, like, our buddy I mentioned earlier, me and Jonathan, we went to go and watch it at an IMAX. Huge theater screen, huge room. Every single seat was filled. Beautiful experience. Like, I didn't even want to talk to Jonathan after the movie, because I knew as soon as I got in my car, I was just going to be like, yes! And then also, like, oh, my heart. Like, I was literally like, we're bros, but I'm not going to, like, go to that level with my bro.
Yeah, man.
And the second time I went to go see it, it was with Jonathan again, one of our buddies named Adam, and my little sister, who's really into, well, she's like basically a mini me as far as anime goes.
Right.
Her name's Liberty, actually. Kind of cool name. And she had the same exact experience I had the first time. Like, she rode that roller coaster. She was like, oh my God, I was so sad whenever he thought she was dead and all this other shit.
Yeah.
Like, she enjoyed the hell out of the movie. So overall, with all these scores averaged out, it got a 9 from me. And I think if I would have given the emotional impact a 10, it probably would have been like a 9.2. So it got a phenomenal score from me. And I need to go and post this review on my anime list, actually, because copy pasta that stuff. I did also in my review write a spoiler story summarization, very short. That reads, Kimi no Nawa, in parentheses, your name, is a fantastical story where two teenagers, Taki and Mitsuha, are inexplicably linked through space and time and must live each other's lives on a regular basis. They learn to cope and eventually form extremely strong feelings for one another until a catastrophe causes their body swapping to abruptly stop. Once Taki is able to reunite with Mitsuha, they work together to prevent the same catastrophe and create a future where they can be together. And that is my summary.
That is a damn good summary without even ruining the film. That just tells, you told somebody that they'll have to go, well, what's the catastrophe? Got to go watch.
Yeah, it's...
Well, how do they fix it? You got to go watch.
Bro, literally, like, I don't want to spoil it too much, but I want to say, like, the poster art, all of the promotional poster art for this movie is so beautiful, but you fucking learn to hate that goddamn comment. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. I'm going to share something with you. While we were coming into this and we were talking about how big it was, right? I'm gonna put some numbers to this. All right. So it was, according to this, it was the 4th highest grossing film of all time in Japan. Ooh. It was the 7th highest grossing traditionally animated film, and it was the highest grossing anime film worldwide.
Definitely deserved it.
So now I'm gonna break this down. So Japan's top 5 box office movies in 2016. In Japan, this was their top 5. Number 5 was Finding Dory, which made 6.83 million, a billion yen. Okay, This is all billions, and this is in yen. So Finding Dory, 6.83 billion. Zootopia, 7.63 billion. Shin Godzilla, which I watched, was amazed with it, 8.25 billion. Star Wars The Force Awakens, 11.63 billion.
Good God.
And Your Name dusts this movie off and does 23.56 billion yen in Japan in 2016. God,
more than double The Force Awakens.
It doubled The Force Awakens.
That's incredible.
In Japan. This movie, when I tell everybody, no, when I'm telling you this movie killed it in Japan, I mean, it doubled The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
More than doubled The Force Awakens. It did really big there. And then once you start kind of getting into it and how it did it and how it was making all this money, then you start kind of going into what it was up against. It achieved the 2nd largest gross for a domestic film in Japan behind Spirited Away, and the 4th largest error behind Titanic and Frozen. It was the first anime film not directed by Miyazaki to earn more than 100 million or 10 billion yen at the Japanese box office.
You know what's crazy too is that's not the only good anime movie that was released in 2016.
Oh no.
There were 2 others that were released last year that are pretty pretty damn popular. There's one called Koe no Katachi, which is a silent voice. That one I just watched recently, and
I'm familiar with it.
that one I won't say. It's definitely not. I won't say it's not as good because it tells a completely different story in a completely different way.
It's some very grounded where, okay, your name gives me this fantastic story with a little bit of science fiction elements.
Yeah.
A silent voice tells me a story grounded in reality that deals with the issue of bullying.
Bullying, depression, suicide, like
it got into some real things.
It goes all over the place, and it really, honestly, after I watched it, I was like, man, I really fucking love living.
Bro.
Like that movie, like I mean, I'm not suicidal, but I mean that movie made me like, damn, I can never be suicidal. The what happens in the movie, what pans out, like the entire movie. There's one character I hate. It's the black-haired chick.
I know who you're talking about.
I don't like her the entire. Even at the end, I don't. Like
her character development was, you're a bitch.
Yeah.
And your character development at the end of the movie is, wow, you're still a bitch.
Right.
And she does that role amazingly well. The whole voice acting on that team was, I fell for these characters again. It's not your name.
No.
But for what it was.
Yeah.
I would say it's my 1-2 punch for people that want to watch romantic animes.
I would definitely say it's very much the best anime movie grounded in reality.
Yes.
It beats Your Name in that aspect because Your Name is definitely fantastical. It's very, very sci-fi, very mythological.
Your Name is almost a modern-day fairy tale.
It really is. It's very. I don't even know what words to use. That's good enough right there.
Let's just call it a modern day fairy tale because it tells this fantastic story, and it has this ending. It plays on our emotions. It speaks to our basic instincts when we were kids and we heard about the fairy godmother saving Cinderella. It does that, and it does it really well.
Right.
But there's some things that when I watched A Silent Voice, which just took me like all over the map and made me question, was I ever a bully? Was I always a nice person? Have I always done things to improve people's lives? Like when I meet you, is your life improved by knowing me, or did I make it worse? A Silent Voice had me questioning myself as a human being. And once again, to even have to question that and come out of the film and still be encouraged by that, by the story that it told. It took some very hard, ugly truths about our society and still told me a great love story.
Yeah, the entire time I literally was thinking like, why the fuck are y'all being mean to her? So what, she can't hear? Like fucking goddamn room of conservative assholes over here. Shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to get political, but that's like, I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be political. Conservative literally just means you're grounded in your beliefs.
Yeah.
But like literally like that's what it felt like. I was like, why is everybody an ass to her? Like, and she is I want to say like top 5 waifu for me right now. Like once she's like 18 and all that shit, she's beautifully drawn. Her character, I would love, first of all, to find a deaf girl like this chick, because one, all of her interactions are adorable as shit. She has funny moments, like whenever she tries to tell the main character dude, I don't remember his name, whenever she tries to tell him that she likes him, he thinks she's talking about the moon, because she says she's trying to say Suki or Daisuke desu, and that means I love you. But he thinks she says Tsuki, which
his
is
name was
the
Shoya Ashida.
Shoya
Ashida,
that's his name. But he thinks she says moon. So like all of like her trying to like speak, I don't want to, I'm not saying like it's hilarious that she can't talk perfectly. I'm just saying like, it fits the bill. Like it sells.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely played on it to me. And this is the thing I never thought I was going to do. It took a thing where it could have been mean about her trying to speak, being a deaf woman. And it did that whole thing of about a play on words and how it could change just by what he was hearing. And it was so amazing. And her name was Shoko.
Yeah.
I think it was Shoko and Shoya.
Yeah, and they both had the same nickname. They're both Shochan.
Yeah, and it was just so good. Like, I told everybody, I watched it. After one of my friends, Adrian, we call him Belly, Belly watched it. And Belly was like, bro, this film wrecked me, and I was drinking, and I need you to watch it because I need to know if it was the alcohol or if this is probably the saddest most amazing film I've ever watched. And I was like, okay, I'll watch it. You know, I really didn't want to, but he said, bro, I'm talking about that racking, like somebody died, like where your body is convulsing, crying. He said, I was racked from this film. And I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this. And he was like, yeah, please, I need you to tell me if it really was that emotionally charged. So I watched the film by myself because I'm like, if I'm going to lose my shit, I'm not doing it in front of my bros. I'm going to be in a quiet room all by myself. Nobody was there, and I watched it. It was emotionally charged, but I did not cry uncontrollably like he did. So I called him and I said two things. The alcohol was strong that night, but it is an emotional roller coaster, and I don't suggest drinking. This is not a film that you go and watch at the Alamo Drafthouse and get a couple in you. You're not going to be emotionally stable to watch this film drinking. And
on that note, I don't believe that films actually had a true box office release. I think even in Japan it was a limited theatrical release. So fingers crossed that they do a full release at some point and bring that to the theaters here, because I'd love to see it on the big screen.
Yeah, it actually only did 120 theaters across Japan. It was screened at the 2016 Scotland Loves Animation Festival in 2016, and the ICA in London on February 5th of 2017. It has definitely, it's starting to pick up, which is funny. It's really doing the festival circuit because it was at Madman Entertainment. It's doing the Konnichiwa Festival in 2017. So it hit like Mexico, Brazil, Chile, Colombia. It's starting to make, moves.
Make the rounds.
I do know that it was set for a Blu-ray home video release, I think, was supposed to be.
I'm going to add it to my collection if it does.
I think I wanted to say it was coming in May. I wanted to say that was it. Now, this film, a lot of people don't know this. It opened at number 2 at the Japanese box office behind Your Name.
I believe it.
And it grossed 238 million yen.
It just like Your Name, it really deserves the praise it's gotten. I believe on my anime list, it has a 9.07. It's ranked number 12 overall for all anime, and number 2 in anime movies, right behind Your Name, which is 9.39.
Well, funny you say that, because Makoto Shinkai, the director of Your Name, called the film a fantastic piece of work and polished in grand production.
Yeah, so where Your Name was traditionally animated, a silent voice was done digitally, which is obvious because all of the light effects and everything.
Oh God!
Very obvious it was digital, but that didn't take away any of the emotion. Like, I think Your Name, one of the big things that made that so amazing and such a spectacle to watch was the traditional animation style, like the beautifully hand-drawn environments, the characters, everything. It honestly, some of the times in that movie, it looked like a Miyazaki film, a Ghibli film, art-wise. Like, it had a similar feel to it a lot of the time. Like the longer, kind of longer-ish faces. Well, Mitsuha's face anyway. Taki's face is a more traditional anime-looking face. But both of them had beautiful, what do you call those, visuals. But the way they did them were totally different. And to hear that Makoto Shinkai gave such praise is actually really cool, because all of his work, I believe all of his work are traditionally done.
Yeah, well, he said something also that he said, when he said it was polished in grand production, which even he is unable to replicate.
Oh, those are big words.
That's big words.
That man has done some stuff. And
well, let's go ahead and break this down. Makoto Shinkai did Your Name.
Yeah.
5 centimeters per second. Mm-hmm. And if I'm correct, he did The Garden of Words.
Yeah, that was the one he did before Your Name, I believe.
And The Garden of Words is a short film, maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
So, speaking of, in The Garden of Words, there's a character, I don't remember I haven't watched it, I'll say that first. But I believe there's a character who is the older lady or something like that. Like, not older, like adult lady. She's the teacher in Your Name. She's the teacher, the classroom teacher. She same name, same hair, well, hair styled.
Did not catch that.
Yeah, same exact character.
I watched Garden of Words.
It's on my list.
I'll tell you something. My wife does not watch anime. Kim's never watched it. I got her to watch it. Mm-hmm. I said, hey, I just need you to watch this film. and she watched it. She sat down. She said, okay, I'll do this for you. I just wanted to see where she was going to be at on it. We both cried on A Garden of Words. It is probably 30 or 40 minutes long. It's a short film. It is probably, I should have known what I was getting out of Shinkai, because he is amazing at telling great love stories. They still call 5 centimeters per second, which you can pick up at Barnes & Noble in manga form. It's a lot of people call it his masterwork. It was just such an amazing story until Your Name came out and just rocked. Everybody was calling 5 centimeters per second, which told the story of young love.
Ooh.
And how it starts.
Another big one, another one on my list too. I feel terrible that I haven't watched any of his other movies, is Children Who Chase Lost Voices. That one is apparently phenomenal as well. And like his other works, it follows love with crazy like time shit and
he tells these science fiction love stories.
He loves the fifth dimension. Like, he's crazy.
But if you watch A Garden of Words, it's so based in reality. It's just a real love story about what can happen in the real world and how people can sometimes be shitty and love can still bloom in shitty situations. 5 centimeters per second, still based in reality, talks about young love and that first love and the sweetness of it and how hard it is to let it go. He tells great love stories. And as a guy, like I told you, you and I have had this conversation, I'm a sucker for a rom-com.
Love them.
You tell me a romantic story, I will watch it all day in anime form. It's just that he has a pulse on how to make me get emotionally invested in what he's writing. Definitely like this one. I would suggest if you get a chance, find A Garden of Words and watch it immediately.
Yeah.
It's just watch it and maybe we'll come back after you watch it. We'll talk about it. But I definitely think right now I'm going to have to agree with you. If I have to stand by a statement, I'm willing to go out and say, I've watched Akira, I've watched Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, My Neighbor Totoro. You name any animated film you've watched. I don't care if it was Frozen. Your Name is the best animated film in the history of animated films.
True. I agree.
I'm going to have to say it. And if you're I'd go as far if you're a woman and you want to know what your guy's about, you want to know if he's got a sensitive bone in his body, play this movie for him. And if that fool don't cry, you might need to look for a new boyfriend. But I'm just saying, unless he's a really great provider, you may need to look for a new man. But this was a really, really, really great movie. And I'm going to have to say, as far as me and my score on it, I don't give out a lot of perfect 10s. On my anime list, that film got a 10. I gave it a perfect 10. I don't say there's not a lot of masterpieces on my list. That is a masterpiece. And A Silent Voice got a 9. It was not Your Name, but it was a freaking 9, and it's locked up. That is so I would definitely tell people, and I hate to say this because, I'm all big about watching it the right way and paying for the Blu-rays and, paying to see it at the theater. But those films are so good. Those 3, Your Name, A Garden of Words, and A Silent Voice are so good. I would almost tell you, find them on an illegal site and watch them immediately because they are so good.
Yeah, can't wait for November. November 11th, I think, is whenever Your Name comes out on Blu-ray. I believe.
We get the U.S. release to Blu-ray.
I'm ready, 110% ready.
Oh, yeah, that's my Christmas gift to myself. Early Christmas gift. I'm going, people were like, oh, in November, man, we got all the Call of Duty, and then we got Star Wars Battlefront 2, and I'm the whole time on the list, mine is like, Your Name comes to Blu-ray, and I don't know what you're talking about, but Your Name comes into my house before all that other stuff.
Need a viewing party for that one.
Bro, we may need to. I may need to set something up, man. I'm down for that. Maybe we could have a Team Lift viewing party and just rent out something that's big, do like a big event and have a bunch of people come watch Your Name with us. I'm down for that. I need to start looking into that because that's going to be a huge hit, and I would love to hang out with people and introduce them to this film. So I know we're kind of running out of time, but you and I were kind of watching this last season of anime. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty much wrapped up now. Were there any shows that stood out to you this last season that you were kind of watching that you really liked?
Well, right now I'm still keeping up with it, but Boku no Hero Academia, My Hero Academy, has definitely got my attention.
Locked in.
I love it. That movie is like the definition of a shonen. It makes me feel badass just watching it.
I know, dude. I did not want to watch this show. Okay, let me start this. When it first came out, I was against everything shonen. I'm like, I don't want to watch shonen. I just finished all of Bleach last year. Like, I watched Bleach from all the crap episodes, all the way to the end. I got all 366 episodes knocked out. I did it. And that was a goal I wanted to accomplish. I'm going to watch all of this. I'm going to watch the movies and everything. So when it was all said and done, I was like, I don't really want to do any shonen. I'm tired of shonen. You know, I can't get through Fairy Tail. I can't do One Piece. I'm tired of it taking 20 episodes to do one fight. You know, I get tired of those kind of shows.
Tired of that DBZ formula.
And then my buddy's like, no, you got to watch My Hero Academia. There's nothing like it.
So good.
And I was like, it's a shonen. He went, there's nothing like it. It's not this 20 episodes to resolve an issue. He said it's gets in there, it kicks ass, it tells a great story, and the lead character, you're going to be 100% behind this kid after the first episode. And I was like, whatever. So I watch it. And after I watched the first episode, I was like, okay, he cries a lot. And I don't like that he's, such a big crybaby, but I like this kid. He's got heart. And next thing I know, 7 episodes later, I'm like, holy shit, this is the greatest show ever. What is this? And I am just locked in at that point. And so then I just ended up binge watching to get caught up, and I finished the season with everybody else. Second season started, and I was just so excited. Couldn't wait to see it. And this second season, first half of it has been amazing. By the time this show airs, I think it'll be back July 8, 2017. It's coming back. It's on a break for right now. It's a 2-week break. But it'll be back July 8th on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, it's definitely one. I think is one that I'm gonna follow to the end. It sucks that they're on break though, because according to some comments on Crunchyroll, they're starting a new arc. Not a new arc, of course, it's in the manga already, but they're starting a very badass arc that's in the manga, and they just started it with this last episode. And if they're gonna take me 2 weeks, they're gonna take 2 weeks before I get to see it again. Oh.
Yeah, no.
It's going to kill me.
I know where we are. If you were to go into Barnes & Noble right now, I did the legwork for anybody. So if you're wanting to get ahead, go buy volumes 5, 6, 7, and 8. So volumes 5, 6, 7, and 8 right now in the Barnes & Noble. You can go in there and buy volumes 5, 6, 7, and 8 of My Hero Academia, and you will be ahead of us. You will know what's about to happen.
Man.
It gets the shit's about to get real award. And I don't give that award out a lot, but the coach's shit's about to get real award has been awarded this season to that one.
Can we talk about briefly how fucking weird some of this in-season anime is? We have Love Tyrant and Eromanga Sensei, which Eromanga Sensei was kind of cringe. Like, I love cringe, actually. I should preface all this. I love cringe. I love pain. That's the only things I'm masochistic about as far as my viewing pleasures. Everything else, I rather, happy ponies and fairy tales shit.
Right.
But Eromanga is so cringy in the beginning. And then, I want to say 10... I don't even know how many episodes they're on. Anyway,
it was 12 on that one.
Yeah, I want to say a good... the last 4 or 5 episodes is evolved into a harem, and it's become hilarious to me. It's definitely a kind of... what's the word? A taboo. It's a very taboo anime, yeah. But it's so fucking good, and I hate myself sometimes for loving it.
That's the word. You took the words out of my mouth, because you and I both were watching this one, and I was like, I'm going to tap out. And the reason I'm really weird about this, but if you watched anime, if you've never been to Japan and you knew nothing about Japan, and all you knew about Japan was what you watched in anime, you would be convinced that fucking family members is more natural in Japan than it is in Arkansas. You would just be convinced it's okay to bang your sister or brother, or to want to bang them. And I was just like, no, Japan, quit being icky. quit being gross, anime. Don't do that. Don't bang your sister. And this show, I was all for it at first, because I liked the idea that this guy was a light novel author, and the artist who's been drawing for him this whole time and had a reputation for drawing really erotic, charged photos or pictures, turns out to be his little sister.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's going to be hilarious. He finds out that his sister's, got this little freaky side to her, and she's been an artist, and they're working on these books together. It'll be a great brother-sister comedy. And then it start kind of flirting with the idea that maybe she was in love with him, and he was in love with her. And
it's never explicitly stated, but yes, it definitely flirted with that a lot.
It flirted
Lately,
with it.
It's been a little bit more tame.
Yeah, it definitely changed around the 7th episode.
But that one's definitely a weird one that I watched this season. Another one, or two other ones that I really like from this season. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but Interviews with Monster Girls.
Yes.
That one, I should also preface this. I love Slice of Life. I love it. Interviews with Monster Girls, every single episode was great to me. I don't think I didn't enjoy a single one, and I really look forward to there being a season 2. Hopefully. I don't remember if that's done by one of those studios who literally makes a season just to promote their freaking mangas. Like Konosuba, for example. They're made, I don't remember the name of the studio, but I know the studio literally makes anime to promote the manga and boost manga sales. And I have it in my wish list right now, getting volumes 1 through 5 or 1 through 4, one of the two of Konosuba. But yeah, Interviews with Monster Girls, I watched that while it was airing new, and I couldn't wait for the next episode every time, and I'm a little sad that it was as short as it was.
Yeah, I actually did enjoy Love Tyrant.
Yeah, another weird one.
Weird one about a Cupid who really likes putting guys together in relationships.
Sounds like my little sister.
Yeah, it was like, you got to quit shipping guys. And then she actually ends up creating a harem anime with the lead character and the girl of his dreams and her little sister, who also wanted to sleep with her big sister.
Yeah.
So it was a weird love story. And then there was, the cousin who was really a, dominatrix. There was some weird stuff going on Love Tyrant. But as creepy as all these parts were, it was probably one of the funniest written shows.
Oh yeah, no,
definitely a straight up comedy. It never took itself seriously. It knew what it was doing.
It's kind of like Akiba's Trip in that perspective, in that aspect. Like Akiba's Trip makes fun of itself and makes fun of the otaku culture nonstop. Every single episode of Akiba's Trip was
a different otaku group.
Literally, yes, every single episode was a different otaku group, and it was phenomenally written. I'm sad that it has a bad reputation because the game is literally just beating up chicks and making them naked and Akiba's Strip, it's just a fucking ecchi anime. It's like, no, it's deeper.
It was really so much deeper than that. My favorite episode was the wrestling episode.
Oh my god, that episode, I want there to be an anime just about American wrestling.
That's all it was. It was like it took everything about American wrestling, and I got friends of mine who were big wrestling fans to watch this one episode. I said, I just want you to watch this. Tell me what you think. Not one of them has watched that one and did not want to watch the rest of the series. And they would say, what is this show? And I was like, what they did is they looked at, whether it was the military sim group or the idols, or, they looked at all these things that different fandoms that exist in otaku culture.
I didn't even know that classic radio was a fucking otaku
ham radio
group.
enthusiasts. Yes. I did not know that.
I didn't know that was an otaku thing, but apparently there are people who obsess over fucking old school radio shit.
Well, we got guys in America that are like that. I had friends that were like, I have to have these vacuum tubes because it gives this rich, deep sound, and they're record collectors, and they have to have a certain phonograph that plays with diamond tips. I mean, it was funny that they took. I looked at Japanese enthusiasts and otaku culture, and there is a group just like that in America that is just as passionate. But that wrestling one showed us that we got way more in touch with our Japanese cousins than we realized.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, I really want there to be one anime that's just 100%
skewers the American wrestling culture.
I want that. I need that in my life.
That one episode was so well written, and it was my favorite. I can go back and watch that episode repeatedly, back to back to back, and not be bored. It was that well written. There was one show you didn't mention. I watched it this season. You talk about love stories. It told the story of a boy and a girl in middle school and that first love. When you meet the girl who makes your heart skip and you first fall in love, and the jealousy and the friends and the people that had crushes on you and that whole thing. It was called Suki ga Kiri.
Mm-hmm. I remember you telling me about that one.
has taken me on the emotional roller coaster. Its next episode is going to air. I think I got 2 days left, like to the end of tonight, and then one more day, and then it's going to run its. It was a 12 episode series. It was also available on Crunchyroll. It was been in my queue. I watched the whole thing this season. I think I added Arrow Manga Sensei and Love Tyrant because I was dealing with this romantic story and its bittersweet pangs of first love. And it kind of reminded me of junior high and having a crush on a girl and just that craziness where your hormones are starting to go off the charts. It does that whole story really well. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And if you can get that in your queue, Tsukigai definitely would get a recommendation. And we'll list them. I guess we can put them on our Facebook page or on our Twitter page and tell people how to get a hold of them. But man, definitely Tsukigai. Put it in your watch list.
Got it.
All right. Did you do Attack on Titan?
I actually have not watched any of the second season. It's not because I don't want to. I'm just like I don't know why, but right now I'm just digging the slice of life crowd. And that reminds me of one other show I wanted to just touch on, and that's just Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
I still haven't watched this.
You need to. I mean, you don't need to, but
no,
if you like,
it's starting to get on my list.
If you like cute anime girls, and if you like slice of life, and if you like one-sided romance, it is hilarious.
But that's the thing. I'm starting to see so many people talking about it that I'm like, I may have missed out on that one.
There's only one rule for that anime, and it's just ravioli, don't lewd the dragon lolly. That's it. Other than that, you're good. Just enjoy it.
Okay, that's all you had to tell me, and I'm going to put it on my list. I'm on vacation for the next 2 weeks, so I'm gonna put it in there.
There you go.
We will get it watched. Hey, bro, I really appreciate you coming on the show and doing this with us, man. It's always a pleasure when we get to talk anime, man, and that's just like really big for us to have these conversations for me to get somebody to bounce these ideas off of. We'll definitely have to work on this thing about a viewing party. If you're listening to this podcast and you want to be a part of our Your Name viewing party, reach out to us at our email at goteamlift@gmail.com. We're being serious. We're going to set this up.
Gonna be good.
If you want to be in with Team Lift when we do a premiere of this film and a watching party, get a hold of us. We will get you into the watching party. I'm going to actually start looking at places to do this at. I'm really about to spend the summer looking for a place to host our viewing party because we're going to need a big room. We're going to need a big room because we're going to have a lot of people with us.
Oh, yeah. No, I am excited. I don't have words for my excitement.
I'm telling you, I'm with you on this one. I'm super, super excited. So let's go ahead and recap it. We said Your Name is the greatest anime film of all time.
Yep.
We both are settling. I'm giving it a 10. I gave it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. So based on my review I gave on the website, it would be a 9.2 out of 10. But had I not done that review, it'd definitely be a 10. I wanted to also say that if anybody's watched the movie and they loved it, I would recommend reading the book. I bought the book as soon as it was available. I actually pre-ordered it and literally got through that thing within 7 hours because I'm a slow-ass reader. Beautiful story, and it's written from the perspective of the two characters rather than the third-person point of view we're given in the movie, and it gives a really cool like view of the same exact story. You get a lot of their inner monologue, and Mitsuha is actually really hilarious because she like in the book she thinks about it a lot. She mentions how she has a soundtrack for her life. And whenever she mentions that, every single time she mentions she describes some song, I hear the exact song from the movie in my head. It's just,
oh man,
it's so good.
I'll
loan you the book.
I've seen the novelization. Barnes and Nobles has picked it up. Every location in Austin is carrying it. I went in one store after you got your book and ordered it. I went in one store and they had 2 copies of it. I went back. It was 4 or 6 copies of the novels now. So somebody is buying these novels up. It's got to be selling really well.
I agree that it, I don't agree. Obviously, it's selling well. I think that it is definitely worth a read, though. And like I said, I'll loan you the book if you want to read it one of these days.
I may have to mess around and do that, man. Let me get some stuff off the schedule, and I'm going to have to I got to make time to read a book these days. On Your Name, We know where we are on that one. What about A Silent Voice? Where did you finish on it?
I would definitely give it same score, 9.
Yeah.
It didn't give me the same kind of emotional impact as Your Name, but it told such a real fucking story.
Oh God.
Like
yeah.
it was real. It was real to the T. Like I did not disbelieve what was happening for a second. I was like, "Damn, this happened. This is not just an anime. This is real."
Yeah, at parts I started thinking somebody's telling an autobiography. This is a little too hard and brutal and harsh at times, but it was a really great story. Then so we're both a 9 on that one. I think we covered it. And then, like I say, man, if you get a chance, Tsuki Gaikiri, great love story. We both kind of came in on the same place with Eromanga Sensei and Love Tyrant. Kind of weird.
Yeah.
But if you can get past the weirdness, you're really going to get some great comedies out of them.
Cringe is a guilty pleasure of mine.
Yeah, man, I'm going to bring you back and we're going to talk about cringe. We're going to talk about, if we get a chance, I want to bring you back. We're going to talk about the most cringe-worthy manga anime out there, Oremo.
Oh, God. I hate to say how much I love that anime.
We're going to get into that one.
Oh, goodness.
I'll bring you back. That's a whole hour conversation for another day.
I'm going to be excommunicated from humanity for how much I like that anime.
Oh, man, because that's one where I know what I was getting into, and I tapped out. I'm honest to God, tapped out.
It?
I couldn't do it. When I knew where it was going, I was like, I tap out. I give up. I may go back one day and watch it, but I have not manned up enough to do it. It is cringy.
It is so cringy. It's so good, though.
I will tell you another cringy one. And in fact, what I'll do, I want you to get a chance, if you got a Crunchyroll account, I want you to find an anime called School Days.
That, I believe, is on my list.
I want you to watch that one.
About 90 anime on my list.
Let's set this up. You watch School Days, and we'll do an episode about it. And we'll bring in a buddy of mine from named Taylor.
Okay.
Taylor Pitts will come and join us for that one. He was the one that turned me on to School Days. And it's kind of his thing, is to turn people on to School Days and then see them be fucked up from it.
That's how it was whenever you recommended School Live to me. Like, I was like, oh, they're cute little high school girls. This is going to be great. And then, like, I died.
Yeah, no, I don't tell anybody what they're getting into with School Live.
You killed me. And anybody listening to this should not look up, if they haven't seen it, do not look up the plot, story, summarization, or anything for School Live.
Just walk into it blindly.
Just go right into School Live. It is a trip and a half.
It'll be the greatest thing you've ever watched blindly with no knowledge.
Yep. Well, I won't say that because I watched Your Name blind, and
okay, so it's the second greatest anime to watch blindly with no knowledge.
There you go.
Yeah, but there's a list. We may have to do a list of our cringe top 10.
Yeah, do a list of everything. You know, everybody loves anime, so let's just make a list for every single type.
We could do it, man. We could do it. So, man, guys, man, this has been a blast. Zane, I always love having you on here, man. I'm gonna be out on vacation. Brandon's out on vacation right now, so. Instead of us taking off the entire month of December, we're doing it in the summer now, trying to keep somebody in the studio to keep these shows cranked out to you. But we will be back eventually to putting in the regular shows at the same bat time, same bat channel. And we're still going to keep bringing you all this anime goodness also interspliced in there too. May start getting to the point where we start doing 2 shows a week, man. May be 1 regular show and 1 anime show. We don't know yet. We're going to see what our schedules can do. You'll come back and join us?
Yeah, I love anime. I love Team Lift, so.
All right, man, definitely. And then we will definitely, right now the plans are to be at Anime CTX August and to go to San Japan in September. We will keep everybody updated on the website, on our Facebook page when we do those, man. So everybody have a good one. And it's been real, and peace. Thanks for listening to the Team Lift Podcast with your hosts, Brendan Bowie and Roderick McDaniel. Join us again next week as we discuss more topics from geek culture. Be sure to follow us on our Twitter page at GoTeamLift, as well as our personal pages at Coach Silky and at Thighside. You can direct questions and comments to us on our Twitter page, as well as find links to all of our social media outlets. Thank you for listening. See you again next week.